another insider. And this week I'm going to talk about something that comes about sometimes and may give clients and colleagues the wrong perception, which is what is within the boundaries of a translator to do in regards to questions asked by clients. Should we ask or should we answer, should I say, questions in regards to what type of documents do they need, etc., etc. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about these boundaries within our job and our capacity as translators, and see what we can and what we cannot do. So if you are a translator, if you are a certified translator, chances are you may have come in contact situations like this where your clients may ask you for advice regarding to what documents they might need, etc., etc. Well, it is a situation that it's not easy, and we all know that when dealing with you know authorities is never easy. And if you do certified translations, chances are you have been asked times and time again things like what documents do I need translated, do the consulate accept copies of the documents, you name it. Lots of questions. I certainly do get these type of questions asked, and of course not only by clients, but sometimes mentees ask as well in regards to what are the legality in regards to this, what should we do, and namely what are the boundaries within our capacity as translators, also within our code of ethics, etc. So let's see what we can and what we cannot do, and how do we solve this problem without obviously losing clients and making them understand what the rules are. Dealing with authorities is never easy, as I said, and we all know, especially when there is a lot of bureaucracy involved and a language barrier in the mix, which usually is what complicates things even further. I know I have been asked these questions so many times, and I also know that sometimes the client has the perception that we know the rules of these authorities, so we might be able to provide them with the right advice. Well, we don't. And even if we did, um, even if we knew what usually is the practice for that particular authority, we cannot represent them or their policies because we do not work for them. So if something goes wrong and the client ends up having a application refused or something like that because we advise them to do something in a certain way that they, the authorities, deemed to be incorrect, we are actually liable for that because we do not respond or represent that authority, and therefore we cannot be saying anything in regards to the rules because it's not our rules. We do not represent them. So it is, it is, it's not our job to do that for them. We don't work for them. We do not do that job. So our job is to translate the documents only and nothing else. We are not consultants on that matter. So be aware of that. If you are starting your business and if you happen to be a certified translator and this is going to be a part of your business, be aware of this. You need to set the boundaries within your capacity as a translator in order to, first of all, create good relationships with your clients, and secondly, not to get into trouble waters, which is very important. So, what should we do in this situation? Well, I always refer my clients to the relevant authority. I explain that I cannot represent that authority, and I do not know what their practice is for that particular case. Providing wrong information can cause the client to have the application denied, and and we cannot risk that happening and having the client blaming us for it, because that's what would happen if you give the client information that you deem to be correct because it was done before and you have done it plenty of times, but the authority changed the system and they decided that they're not no longer going to do it that way, or it's not the correct way for that particular application. You don't know. You don't work for them, so you cannot respond for that authority. So it is a serious problem. Our job is to translate the documents, never to provide advice. Because we do not work for those authorities, we cannot provide advice, we cannot speak on that authority's behalf because we don't represent them. So, but this is not just a everyday base question or problem. This also is a part of our code of ethics, and our code of ethics also set out this rule because obviously there was something that is so current that obviously needed to be addressed in the code of ethics as well. We are not consultants, and we shall not provide any form of advice or preempt client to choices. And that's so obviously a no-brainer, right? I know this is a delicate situation, especially in certain cultures where clients expect that advice and have that belief that you should provide it to them. I know, for example, in the case of the Portuguese culture, and it's normal. People, when they go, oh, what should I do? They always try to, or always expect you to give that advice. So I have decided to bring this up um, and tell you what I do in this situation. I have encountered this situation a few times, and of course, this is how I have responded. In my case, I simply ask the client to contact the authority, usually the Portuguese consulate, and ask them the questions directly. I explain it goes against my code of ethics and also that I cannot provide that information since I do not work or represent the consulate. It would be wrong for me to be telling a client to act in a certain way, get a certain documentation for an application with an authority, with an institution from whom I do not work for or I don't represent. So I do not work for those for that institution. I do not work for the Portuguese consulate. I have no connection with the consulate. The only connection I've got with the consulate is that I'm also a Portuguese citizen. I go there to renew my documents, and of course, I am there listed as a certified translator from English to Portuguese. So they have me in their list as one of the possible providers of translation in Australia for people going there and asking for applications. So there is no other connection. I have no connection or authority to speak on the consulate's behalf or advise the clients to do things or how to do things, because obviously I don't know. So be aware of this. And I know in certain cultures may be tricky. I know the Portuguese culture is one of those cultures. And therefore, I think we need to set those boundaries from the very start. So if the clients are aware of those boundaries, even if you, for example, in your website, um, getting that on your, for example, frequently asked questions, you can include that question. I know that not everyone read that page, but it is a good idea to have that. I would even say you can even stretch it a bit more and even include it on your terms and conditions that you cannot provide any sort of advice. So depending on your on the project, of course, but for certified translation, for translation in general, you cannot provide any sort of advice. Even if, for example, you have a range of services like certified translation, non-certified translation, etc., and you get a client contacting you that they want to do a translation, you cannot preempt their choice. You cannot say, for that you're gonna need certified. No, all you have to do is provide them with information of the services you provide. You provide certified translation, non-certified translation, whatever services you might provide, and they are the ones who make that decision. Okay, I think on this instance I'm going to go with that service, please. So you empower the client to make that decision. And in regards to certified translation, you do not make that decision for the client. You tell them, you cannot advise them on that. They should contact the authorities or the institutions for to where those translations are destined to, and they are the ones who have the power and the knowledge to advise the client adequately on what to do on their particular situation. Usually the clients are understanding and they come back with the documents they need, and things run smoothly. Um, that's my experience in almost 2 decades of this profession. Usually things run smoothly if, again, if these boundaries are set and if these things are accommodated from the start. If you because if you give advice because you know that that's exactly what they do all the time, and you may have said, okay, yeah, this is okay, you open a precedent that, first of all, is going against our code of ethics, and secondly, it may get you in trouble waters, because if you do it to one client, you know that chances are they, in a small community, they may contact each other or have, different people, they may know each other, and if you deny that information to another client, they may say, but they told me. So also it's also important for providing a consistent job, a consistent service, and if you don't provide it to anyone, period, it's done and dusted. You cannot do it. It goes against our code of ethics. So I decided to bring this. I know I have done a few articles about this. I decided to revisit the topic because it's always being this is like a cycle of things, and sometimes things come back and get thrown away again, because people have these needs of documentation, and authorities themselves sometimes they change the way they do things and they change things around, uh, creating all sorts of questions. And I know, and as I said in the beginning of the video, when you're dealing with authorities and when you're dealing with all these authorities, they have layers and layers and layers of bureaucracy, layers and layers and layers of quite frankly, sometimes dysfunctionality in it, where you call and they give you one information and then they give you another information. And that's part of the reason we should not say anything, because they themselves sometimes provide very disparate information to the clients themselves. So if you are going to do it and the client gets in trouble waters, you can see how easily this will end up badly for you. So be aware of this. Set up the best boundaries for yourself, and I think you will be right. So for today, I hope you liked this insider today. I hope if you are a certified translator, if you are studying, and if you have had these questions asked, I hope this helped you understand the reason why we cannot do it. Um, because it's not just well, it's not your job. Stay away from it. It's not just because of that. It's also the implications it can have if you tell something that then is deemed to be incorrect by that authority, and something ends up going wrong with that application for your clients. So it's safer for you and for your business that you stay out of that sort of decision. So because it's clearly not our job. It's totally out of our capability as translators. And you know uh, if the client can go back and ask the authority what do they need, then you can easily um, deal with the translations that they need, and get the application documents ready for them to go back and proceed with their application without problems. Usually, trying to be a consultant on these cases always backfires and ends up getting you in trouble waters. Um, if you have any questions in regards to this topic or otherwise, please leave me a comment below. I'll be very happy to answer you. Or if you have a suggestion of another topic that you would like me to talk about in our insiders, please leave a comment below, and I will be doing it. And the usual, put a like on the video and subscribe the channel with a little click on the bell so you get a notification of a new insider every week. Before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching, and I will see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.